Okay, well, to the day that we have today.
October 7th.
Welcome to the October 7th Select Board meeting. I just want to reiterate that you can get on to live stream if you just go onto the town website and you go to, right there on the homepage is View Live Meeting.
I'm gonna watch it on my phone.
And you can just press View Live Meeting and the link will be right there for Zoom. So that's what.
On YouTube.
On YouTube,
Yeah.
right, you have to watch it on YouTube. Okay, so. Okay, so we have a pretty light agenda.
It's on a nice little delay too. I just watched Victoria walk back in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We have a pretty good, short agenda tonight, but let's start off with, some announcements. Who wants to make the announcements? Go ahead.
Okay, there's a bunch of events coming up in the near future. We have the cemetery stroll that is coming up, put on by the rec department. And that is an all ages event on Saturday, October 12th. You can find more information on the recreation department page. There's also a Halloween party and touch a truck coming up. And that is Saturday, October 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. Also on that very same day, Saturday, October 26th, There's going to be the Lions Holiday Bazaar, and that's going to be at the middle high school. And there'll be a bunch of craft vendors and such available there. So that's a great day with two excellent events really close in proximity to each other. And
I'm doing both.
what about this book sale?
oh,
I know that's not on here, but it
It's not.
appears to be
yes,
here.
there's a book sale for the Millis Public Library on October 18th through the 20th. It is there on Saturday from 9 to 1. There will be free coffee. Everyone is welcome. The free coffee is donated by the New England Coffee Company. There'll be door prizes and of course the book sale. And then Sunday from 1 to 3 is a $5 bag sale for the book sale. And then I think the last thing we were going to talk about for announcements was the successful fire department open house.
Yep, I don't know if everybody can see, but I'm wearing my proud fire shirt that I picked up on Sunday. Wonderful event at the fire station. They have it every year. This one was, I don't know if it was more packed, but maybe it was the weather because it was
It was packed.
spectacular and it was packed. And it was just great. It went from 10 to 2. And I think we all want to thank Otis for putting that together, which he does every year and he outdoes himself every year. So that was a wonderful event. Okay. Now we're going to get to some appointments.
Yes, Madam Chair, in your packets, there is a memo from the Library Director, Kim Tolson, recommending the appointment of Maria Little to the position of on-call library assistant. So upon her recommendation, I am requesting that the board ratify my appointment of Maria Little as an on-call library assistant, pending a successful query and physical.
Okay.
I move to ratify the town administrator's appointment of library assistant pending successful query and physical result.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next.
Thank you. Also in your packet is an email from Kathleen Smith, our interim town clerk, requesting that George Ryan and Nicole Riley be appointed as election workers. So I'm requesting that the board ratify my appointment of George Ryan and Nicole Riley as election workers pending their successful query.
I move to ratify the town administrator's appointment of George Ryan and Nicole Riley as election workers pending successful query results.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. And again, in your packet is a email from Anne Marie, who's here this evening, our COA director, recommending the appointment of Mr. James D. Murphy of Millis for the position of an additional council on aging driver. So I am recommending or requesting that the board ratify my appointment of James Murphy as a council on aging driver pending a successful query and physical.
Did you want to say anything, Emily? No? Okay, good.
Okay, I move to ratify the town administrator's appointment of James Murphy as a council on aging driver pending successful query and physical results.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
What do we have next?
So, Madam Chair, in your packet is an email from the chair of the Permanent Building Committee and School Building Committee, notifying the board that they're recommending John McDonough to fill the open spot left on the Permanent Building Committee and School Building Committee by the departure of Jeremy Stull. He's asking that the board appoint him to both committees.
I move that the board appoint John McDonough as a voting member to the Permanent Building Committee and the School Building.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. One more?
Thank you. And one more, the same email from Chair Nichols. They're requesting that Patrick Nash and Anna Hurley be officially appointed to the SBC by the select board. They're the principals at the middle and high school, and they would hold non-voting membership on the school building committee if the board would appoint them this evening.
I move that the board appoint Patrick Nash and Anne Burley as non-voting members of the school building committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to some open session items. Mike?
Yes, so in your packet is the state election warrant, which was sent to us, by the interim town clerk, Kathy Smith, and she is requesting that the board, approve and sign the November 5th, 2024 state election warrant.
I move that the board approve and sign the 11/05/24 state election warrant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Aye.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
The next item, Madam Chair, is a intermunicipal agreement with a group of Metro West communities as part of the Shared Public Health Services Collaborative. We've been working with them for some time, and actually right now they're assisting us with some work here in the Board of Health. And I'm requesting that the board vote to approve and authorize the select board chair to sign the Metro West Shared Public Health Services Collaborative Intermunicipal Agreement for the Public Health Excellence for Shared Services Grant. So a lot of these services are funded through the state grant programs.
Okay, I move that the board approve and authorize the select board chair to sign the Metro West Shared Public Health Services Collaborative Intermunicipal Agreement for the Public Health Excellence for Shared Services Grant as presented.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Great, thank you. The next item on your agenda, Madam Chair, is to review and approve a joint salt bid. The DPW director, Mr. McKay, is here this evening to discuss the bid.
Well, it's salt. This is critical.
So this is our annual joint salt bid. I gave you a list so you can look at it, all the people that are involved in this, different towns. This is pretty good. And Medfield puts this on, they put it out the bid, they pay for the whole thing. They always ask, but they always put it out the bid. And so this year we're asking that you approve the same as last year, $170,727. And that is mainly for, that's the overall cost of snow removal. And that includes contractors in the price of the salt bid. So the salt bid came in at $58.24 a ton, which is $1.74 less than last year. Last year was $59.98. But when you buy that many tons, I mean, it builds up. That's a big savings for us. I mean, luckily the salt shed is full from last year, so we won't have to go out immediately and purchase any salt, hopefully. Maybe we won't have to buy any, that's, if it goes that way. So it actually, I don't think the town administrator has to, he has to sign the mutual agreement between the communities. I don't know if I gave you that, but I'll get that for you. But you do have to approve the spending.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm just, I recommend that the board approve the joint salt bid for the 2024-25 season for a not to exceed amount of $170,727 and award the bid to Eastern Minerals Incorporated.
And authorize you to sign the contract.
Yes.
I move that the board approve the joint salt bid for 2024-2025 for a not to exceed amount of $170,727 and to award the bid to Eastern Minerals Incorporated, as well as authorize the town administrator to sign the contract.
Second, do we have to put in the Mid-American salt too? Is that?
I asked Mr. McKay that, but we do not generally purchase those.
Okay. Yeah.
It's in the bid.
Yeah.
Okay. Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in, my mic is coming in and out if nobody else is noticing. It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I'm glad that Craig, myself, and Mike all wore the same shirt tonight.
Yeah, well, you know, we plan ahead. One of those efforts.
Not too shabby back there.
Yeah.
Y'all call each other this morning, is that what we did?
If
We have a Zoom call
hopefully
this
you
morning.
drove by the, going from the transfer station, if you notice that they've started to take the skin off the building and replacing it with you approved that we're gonna do the in-house work on the, salt shed that's begun. And it's really come out nice, so you can take it right down, take a look at it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Send my son this weekend, so I didn't go.
Okay, so, you'll be back? Okay. That was that.
So Madam Chair, I'm requesting that the board vote to open the fall annual town meeting warrant of November 19th, 2024.
I move that the board open the November 19th, 2024 fall annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Great,
Okay.
thank you. And Madam Chair, I will be going through all the draft articles we have, but we have a star speaker here this evening. The chair of the MBTA committee is here with our Economic Development and Planning Director, Mr. Weiss, to talk about the proposed zoning changes for the fall town meeting.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I give you a chance to discuss the proposed amendments to the town of Millis zoning bylaws and maps, which will put us in compliance with the state's multifamily zoning districts requirement under section 3A of the zoning Act. So I'm Jody Garzon, for those at home. I am chair of the MBTA 3A Advisory Committee. Right now, there's 8 members of the committee. We were appointed by the select board in October 2022. It includes residents from Millis as well as local business representatives. So myself, I'm on the committee, as well as Nicole Riley, Jean Barrett, Wayne Carlson, Greg Schultz, Owen Salerno, Madeline Usna, and Jeffrey Jimmy Jr. Our committee's mission, given by you all, was to prepare a bylaw compliant with state laws for town meeting to vote on prior to our December 31st, 2024 deadline. To that end, working with the consulting services of MAPC to research and bring information to the town, to residents and to committees concerning the state mandated zoning change passed in 2021. It requires the 175 cities and towns within the MBTA service area to adopt a zoning bylaw that will create a district where multifamily housing can be built by right at a density of at least 15 units per acre. According to the law's requirements, we're considered an MBTA adjacent community because Norfolk has the commuter rail, and we are required to provide the capacity for a minimum of 750 units of housing on at least 50 acres by the end of this year. So we as a committee met several times in 2023 and 24, and we've revised the proposed bylaw several times, including extensive revisions from its first appearance before the planning board in March, which you folks were riled up about. It's gone through many revisions since then. Meetings have been open to the public. They're broadcast live on Millis Community Media. We have townwide forums, and we've been giving residents the details of the state requirements and taking questions and listening to concerns. And we also had a survey on the town's website, which allowed residents to give their opinions on several issues that were related to creating the 3A bylaw. So what you have in your packet to review today is a proposed zoning bylaw change that will include an overlay zoning district of 55 acres. This satisfies the requirements of the state, and it allows for much needed multifamily zoning near, but it preserves the smaller, more affordable neighborhoods in this area of Memphis.
The parcels that have been included in the district are either underutilized, underdeveloped, or undeveloped, or in need of redevelopment to provide good quality housing for future and current residents of Millis. With the rise of housing prices in our region, many younger people, as well as our older residents, are unable to find affordable housing to either remain in our community or to move to our community to raise families for the same reasons we came here. Our hope as a committee is that with these zoning changes, our town can remain a vibrant community of all ages and income levels with sufficient housing supply to accommodate all generations. So Section 3A provides that any MBTA community that fails to comply with Section 3A requirements will be ineligible for state funding from several programs. The EOHLC will make determinations of compliance with Section 3A in accordance with their guidelines to inform the state agency decisions on which communities are eligible to receive funding. There are many discretionary programs that will take compliance with Section 3A into consideration when making grant award recommendations. Those are community planning grants, Massachusetts Downtown Initiative, Urban Agenda, Rural and Small Town Development Fund, the Brownfields Redevelopment Fund, Site Readiness Program, Underutilized Properties Program, Collaborative Workspace Program, Real Estate Services Technical Assistance, Commonwealth Places Programs, Land Use Planning Grants, Local Acquisitions for Natural Diversity Grants, and Municipal Vulnerability, which is a hard word to say, Preparedness, Planning and Project Grants, which we have looked into as a community. The determination of compliance may also inform other funding decisions by the state and state programs. And basically, whenever the state decides to look at compliance with housing policies, they're going to look to see if we're in compliance with 3A or their discretionary grant programs or making other discretionary funding decisions. So our hope is that at their meeting this week, tomorrow, the planning board will recommend these amendments to the town zoning bylaws and maps. And the select board will include these amendments for town meeting on November 15th. So welcome to entertain any questions or if you want any clarification on how these bylaws have been amended.
No, but do you want to tell, our viewing, tell the viewing public what parcels that you identified?
So they are primarily where the Stony Brook apartments are. So down kind of Milliston Road towards the end, and that parcel kind of hugs down around 519. If you were looking up Milliston Road, it would hug around the left side and then kind of go around the back of McDonald's because of the way those parcels are already drawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other parcel is the GAF site. And we have also included the Herman Shoe site. And in order to have it be part of the same district, we had to include a little section of that easement where the railroad tracks are. So those are the only parcels.
Yep.
There's the north parcel and the south parcel, and that's it.
Yeah, I think it's really important because one of the early changes from when it came out was the first draft had 3,000 potential units, which would have doubled the size of the town. So we cut it to 750, which is the required amount. But secondly, none of this touches an existing neighborhood. No existing neighborhood would be impacted by this. It's all on sites that are either completely undeveloped or already sitting in higher density apartment
Right,
areas.
right, and I like to misinformation about this is just out of control. So one thing I'd like to say, which I shouldn't have to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. This does not mean that some developer can come in and just take this land and make this happen. It has to be purchased from the owner. It's not this just, you dream it, it happens. So there has to, the parcel, Stony Brook Apartments would have to be sold, and then somebody would have to come in and make this happen. Same with the other piece. So it's not a taking, in other words.
Right.
So Anywho, I like that it's downtown. Within walking distance of everything, and not out in industrial park. I like that we're complying, because I know there are some people out there that think that, suing, which funnily enough, the lawsuit has happened today. Milton is in front of the, in court today. I'm gonna go on record and say Milton's gonna lose, but that's just me. And these grants that are in jeopardy are real. It's not just dangling and a stick and a carrot thing. They're real. We do go for them. Some maybe depend on them. So fighting this, which I was thinking about at the very beginning, is not realistic.
And just one other point on it too. I've heard a couple other things like we left Ann and Hope off. Well, that was done deliberately, just for everybody out there. We left Ann and Hope site off of this. That was originally considered. But we left it off because that's our commercial future. We think we can put something in there like the Napper Tandy's development where it's mixed use still, but this is highly restrictive on the parking requirements and a lot of other stuff. So it's not that we're not committed to doing something with Ann and Hope. We hope something great happens at that site, but this wasn't the right solution for it. The solution wasn't to turn it into housing, but it is a great commercial opportunity. And a lot of people said there'll be huge cost implications with this, hitting the schools, hitting the police, hitting the fire. Let's not forget that all of these places will be paying taxes also. So there'll be millions of tax revenue coming in to offset this, should it be ever built to its fullest. I personally don't think it's going to be a massive development. I think this is a requirement. I think we're going to meet the requirement. And if worst case scenario, it is developed, if that is your worst case, you're going to clean up a brownfield site and you're going to provide some quality housing, additional quality housing in what's already apartments. So I don't think there's a downside to this when I look at it with this zoning plan.
Right, and some folks are afraid that we're gonna have some giant, 6-story apartment, building, brick building. It's 3 stories, 40 feet. Those are the restrictions that we've placed on it. It's with parking. It's, maybe in Boston and Cambridge, it works to have an apartment building without parking, but it doesn't work in Millis, and we recognize that. So there is parking. There's allowance for open space. Right now, the neighborhood, our GIF shouldn't use that space. It's completely locked off from the neighborhood. With a development that is within these guidelines, that would completely revitalize that whole neighborhood.
Yes.
So we have a lot of restrictions still. It's by right, but there are restrictions that are still in here.
Yeah, and yes, and the planning board and any other board in town still has the right to
Right.
place reasonable restrictions on everything in town, including this.
Yeah, and I do want to point out the height restriction, because I've heard this one too. I hear a lot about this stuff. It's not a fire hazard. The fire chief was on the committee. Our fire truck can do a 40-foot height building. It's not going to make us buy another piece of equipment. It's not going to cost us more for fire trucks. What we have will service this. That's why we only went to 3 stories at 40 feet.
We want to keep it within the character of the town of Memphis and not look like someone, did down somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, like Medway.
But also, we want to make some headway with 40 feet. So this actually puts a higher amount of affordable housing within the requirements for developers. So instead of just the 10%, we're going to make some headway on the affordable housing list.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called.
Yeah, and since rental properties count 100% towards that, if these go in as apartments, that really solves our 40B compliance issue, and it eliminates the threat of something hostile coming in that we don't control, that we can't zone the way we'd like it to look.
So my view is, although I would not have asked for this from the state, what we have here is actually good for Millis.
Yeah.
And that's what we worked very hard as a committee to make it something that is good for Millis.
I like it. Any questions? Erin, you got anything?
I don't,
We good? Okay, thanks, Joe.
If you want to hear more, at the planning board Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, in your packet, well, actually, I just finished this earlier today, so I forwarded this out to the board, earlier today. It is a first draft of the actual, town meeting warrant for the fall town meeting scheduled for November 19th. So I have put the information available, which is for most articles complete. And I'll just go through briefly, if you're looking to go through the articles. We have a total of 21 articles.
Yep.
2 articles are additional for the board's consideration that weren't discussed at your last meeting, and I'll note those when we get to them. The first article is unpaid bills. And generally, this is paid through free cash. And these are all the unpaid bills that we have for last year. And I know you're just getting this today, so if you have any questions about specific bills, we're certainly happy to discuss those with the different departments. And these are bills both for the general account and the sewer, water, and stormwater enterprise funds. Article 2 is actually the second half of the marijuana HCA funding of certain items in the town. We've got 4 items listed. The one is the social work services that we have for the whole community. We have the second part of the school resource officer salary, second half of the police marijuana training, and the second half of a school adjustment counselor for the school. So it totals $137,503.38.
May I ask a quick question about the HCA funds? And I've got 2 people who probably know the answer, will we get some of that in FY26? Is there a half year the way Carol does the
Yes,
accounting?
because there's a delay.
Yeah,
Even though we
Did the
won't be
accounting,
receiving any in 26, we will have received it in 25.
Right.
And so there'll be some available in 26.
so we'll get about half the normal amount and then that's
And
it.
then that pretty much ends it, yeah.
Thank you.
The next 2 articles are community preservation funded articles. The first one is 15,000 for signage for open spaces. And I think you had some presentations on that earlier on the different signage. The next item is half the cost related to the proposal for the Lansing Millis Building exterior repair project for $125,000. The next article is our capital article, and we don't have the recommendations on the rankings yet from the capital committee, but I've listed all the items that are before the capital committee right now. We have the aerial boom lift for town buildings at $52,923. The Lansing Millis building repair, and that's the second half of that for $125,000. Police tasers, $96,518. Fire turnout gear, $36,000. The Freightliner dump truck with plow and sander, $264,850. And 2 transportation vans to handle special SD routes for $111,450. So that, again, that's all the items that are currently before. So I wouldn't expect anything would be proposed to be added to this. And the board can consider whether or not you want to retain everything on there.
And they'll prioritize it when they give it to us, and we decide how deep we want to go into that priority list.
And at your last meeting, the board had said it wanted to add the road sidewalk construction design repair and maintenance item. I put a figure in there that's been used in the past, which was the 500,000. So that's what's in the draft. The next two articles are the new articles you haven't seen since your last meeting. The first one is within the police budget. The chief does have the sufficient funding within his budget for the lease purchase of a cruiser. So again, this isn't requesting funding. This is just a borrowing authorization. So and again, if you'd like, you know, the chief or anyone related to any of these articles, we can certainly have them in at your next meeting.
If we don't have to, if we need to fix this next time.
Do you want my mic? I've got an extra one over here.
Yeah, we can,
Slide that down.
we're gonna just keep moving things down.
Will it make it?
It'll make it.
Don't let me get up quickly.
Okay, oh, that's better. If we don't need to come up with the money, we don't need to have the.
And it's part of his normal replacement schedule.
Yeah,
anyway.
right.
There's
It's
nothing
in
different.
his
with this.
budget,
Yeah.
yeah. The next item, and I just wanted to update the board on this. We did just open the bids for the PFAS project. Winston Builders actually had the lowest bid at 6.4 million, which I think is a pretty good bid. However, that with the cost of the engineering for the whole project, which is in the vicinity of 600,000 for the design and for the construction oversight, would only leave us around 100,000 for contingency, which isn't a lot for a $7 million project. And it's been recommended that we go to town meeting to ask for a borrowing authorization for an additional 500,000 purely for contingency, so that we don't get stuck in a situation mid-project where we need a few $100,000 for anything unexpected and run into a problem with the project. So again, this is one of those items that we want to build a little leeway in there, and we hope not to have to use any of these funds, but I think it's been being involved with these projects for many years. It's a good idea to have some additional funds available for those contingencies that might come up.
We had to go to town meeting for the DPW building repair also for additional contingency,
Yes.
didn't we? And that didn't get used, or most of that didn't get used.
Right, most of that ended up getting unused.
Okay.
So Article 9, this was the item requested by the town treasurer having to do with trust funds. This is something that most communities in the Commonwealth are currently going through the acceptance of these provisions to allow some more flexibility in the investment of funds. Still very safe investments, but historically the state has been very, very strict on where the towns can invest funds. And again, this provides a little more flexibility.
So we've never done this before, this is new?
This particular one is new.
Okay.
But we have followed very conservative investment.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
much to my frustration.
The next two articles have to do with the sale of town-owned properties. We're still gathering some of the language we need for those articles, but essentially those are the two properties that we're currently looking at. Article 12 is the water management bylaw, which relates back to the presentation done by our engineer from Kleinfelder. And it is several pages long, but it is what
You can have this article.
it is what is required basically in order to meet the new standards of DEP.
Okay. Holy moly.
Article 13 has to do with parking and loading lot standards. And again, this falls into a lot of the issues with stormwater and the DEP changes we had to make.
Okay, who came up with this article?
This was through Kleinfelder.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can have that one too.
Again, they're trying to keep us in good graces with the DEP, also trying to give the town as much leeway as possible. going forward.
Okay.
So Articles 14, 15, and 16 are all,
those as well.
are all zoning articles.
You know those.
The first one is the multifamily overlay district, which was just discussed by the board and Jody Garzon. The next two have to do with two other zoning items that are currently being reviewed. And I think these will all be discussed by the planning board tomorrow evening. So I'm hoping by this time next week, I'll have been able to put in the final language in here and get out updated copies to you. The next several articles have to do with funding the various funds of the town. The first one is the chapter 41, the section 111F, injury leave indemnity fund. The outgoing finance director recommended at least 300,000 into this fund to keep it in a healthy amount moving forward.
Is there already money in this fund?
There is some money in the fund, so
How
this,
much is in there?
I can get, I don't have that off the top of my head.
Because
I can get
I'd
that.
be comfortable maintaining a $300,000 balance. I don't know that I need to put more in than that. Yeah,
We'll
that
get
gives
the
us
balance.
a pretty healthy reserve.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
The next one is the unemployment account, just at 25,000 for that. I can also, while I'm at it, get you a balance of that. The next one is the OPEB trust fund, again, which the recommendation is that we should have millions in that account. We are chipping away at it in small amounts anyway.
Hundreds of thousands.
It's a hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
We didn't have the 25 million, hundreds of thousands.
Yes,
Maybe we can look at that.
yeah.
But I think the important thing is, right now, what we're doing is we're funding it as the bills come due, which is the way it always used to be. But they actuarially decided that we should fund it in cash. And how many towns have done that now? I think it's like
Out of
two
the
or
whole
three.
state, maybe less than a half a dozen out
Yeah.
of the whole state.
And you do it.
And they're
by
very
having
wealthy
override.
communities.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I
can
think
vote on,
Wellesley is
yeah.
one and there's 3 or 4 other communities in the state.
imagine a $25 million override just to put the money in the bank.
And Wellesley actually passed overrides to fund that.
Yeah.
So,
Good for Wellesley.
Yeah, so we're
uh,
making headway. The auditors care to see that we're making headway.
Okay. I like it.
So Article 20 is the stabilization fund, and we don't have an amount of money set in that, because usually, and again, there may be a decision to not put any in the fall and wait till the spring on that, but,
I would actually like to remove it for right now, because I don't want to tie, and we can talk about this more. I don't want to tie up money in stabilization if somebody makes a motion to amend it from 0 to $200,000 when we have, or not that, $2 million, because we have Tri-County and other things coming due in the spring that we have to fund, and I don't want that money tied up in stabilization. Absolutely support putting it on in the spring to put any extra money we have in there. But at this point, I don't consider it extra money.
I mean, I would agree that's a reasonable approach. Have this in the spring,
Yeah.
because at that point, usually the stabilization articles, one of the last articles in the warrant. And if you did that in May, that'd be the last opportunity for town meeting to do anything with any
Yeah.
available funds. And if they didn't do anything, it would float into uncertified free cash and then it would be tied up and unusable for a period of time. So
Yeah.
it does make a lot of sense to have this in the spring.
And it takes a 2/3 majority to take money out, simple majority to put it in. So I don't
Okay.
want to complicate our lives with
Fine.
the Tri-County bill coming due.
Fine.
And the last article was the one by petition. I think I mentioned, there's no change on that. I had mentioned that at the last meeting.
Yeah.
It's not a binding article, but it is going to be in the warrant, at the end of the warrant.
Okay.
So this evening, I'd be just asking that the board vote to approve the addition of, articles, 7 and 8 in the draft before you. That would be the lease purchase of the police cruiser and the supplemental borrowing.
So we don't have a motion on? We did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then remove Article 20.
And then remove article.
Okay. Hold on. Take your time. I've already passed seven pages. Who
Yeah.
cares?
I know, sorry.
No, you don't.
I move that the board add the additional two articles listed in the draft warrant, Articles 7 and 8, for police cruiser and supplemental PFAS borrowing, and remove Article 20 from the fall annual town meeting warrant.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Great, thank you. And then you just request a motion to close the
Yep.
warrant.
Before we do that, what do we have in free cash? Do you know?
I don't have the exact figure, it's a
3.4.
it's a little over 3 million.
yeah, 3.2, 3.4.
Okay,
And yeah, so there's a lot in there, but it's used, we're gonna need it for Tri-County and
Some in the
other
spring
things
for
too. Yeah,
certain
so
things.
that's,
and what are we guessing Tri-County's gonna be, like under $1 million?
well, I think that, I'm guessing,
Guessing,
it's 12,500 for construction per student.
yeah,
So forget about tuition. Tuition's always come out of the budget, but construction's about 12,500. And I think we have like, I'm gonna guess it'll be like 350, 400,000 this year
okay,
is my guess for construction.
all right.
I don't know what enrollment's gonna be, but that's kind of what I'm factoring in my head.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was based on our last enrollment numbers, which they may go up, you know.
I move that the board close the November 9th, 2024 fall annual town meeting warrant.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you.
Liaison updates, is that what we are?
yeah, I guess, I went to the capital planning committee meeting and so did Ellen. Ellen
did I.
presented a lovely plan for the Lansing Millis. And we heard about other things that you've just heard about in the warrant. It was a very nice meeting. And Wayne Klocko is now in the committee.
This is good. Do you have any? No. Again, Mike, I haven't been to one since we changed. I haven't been to one meeting.
Well, I'm sorry. It looks like you're not gonna win this year's battle.
Well, this was all by design. Okay. So no liaison?
No,
Okay. And he won.
Yeah.
How sad is that?
Another big
Okay,
win.
minutes?
yes, I move that the board approve the draft minutes from September 30th, 2024, select board meeting as written.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
aye.
Okay, unanimous?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
All right.